Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipson.
Today's guest is Katie Guay. She's an ice hockey referee and the first woman to ever ref in the AHL, American Hockey League. She has 8 international championships under her belt, including the 2018 Olympic Games. In addition to her officiating, she's also the Director of Compliance and Safety for PHF, Premier Hockey Federation. Get ready to learn what is the difference in officiating men versus women, why you should work hard and stay humble, and when we can expect a female referee in the NHL. In other news, this week we are sponsored by InSport Education and their new online course, Governance of Women's Sport, developing structures that are fit for purpose. When it comes to effective sports governance structures, historically many sports have copied the structures for men's sport and applied them to women's sport. But this doesn't account for the particular challenges and opportunities for women's sport, the nuances, specificity required for the unique platform of women's sport. Now you have the opportunity to learn about governance of women's sport, and with the code SPORTSMANAGEMENTPODCAST10, you will get 10% off this and all other courses offered by InSport Education. Click the link in the description below and sign up today. Katie Guay, welcome to the Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
How are you doing today?
Good, Marcus. How are you?
All well, all well. So yes, you are an ice hockey referee, and you are also the first female to ref in the AHL, American Hockey League for men. So first of all, if you can tell us a little bit about your journey as a referee.
Sure. I played hockey. I started at age 6 and I played through university level. I went to Brown University in Rhode Island. And then when I was done playing, I really just missed being around the rinks. I had been playing for 16 years and just it came to a screeching halt. And all of a sudden I was no longer in the rinks. I got my first real job in the real world and just missed being able to lace them up. And so I started playing in a women's recreational league where I was driving over an hour to play a 36-minute game, 12-minute periods. And I said, maybe if I at least just referee, I can make my money back, since that was the first time in my life I had to pay my way to play, since my parents covered the bill up until that point. And so I said, all right, I'll try reffing. And so it was great. I started at a women's recreational level where they didn't really know the rules and I didn't know the rules. So we learned the rules together. And from there, I was able to find a mentor who had been to 2 Olympics. So she went to the 02 and 06 Olympics and introduced me to that side of the game. And I also got involved with officiating college hockey in the United States. And so from there, I progressed. My first goal was to do an international tournament. And I had the chance in 2010 to go to France. And then from there, I set my sights higher and wanted to go to the Olympics. And along the way, I went to a Women's World Championships in Malmo and a lot of tournaments along the way. It was an 8-year journey, but I finally made it to the Olympics in 2018. I went to Pyeongchang, and great experience. It was everything I had hoped it to be. And in the US, for the Americans, it's one and done for the Olympics. And so once we have the opportunity to go to one, our IHF career, our path has come to an end to provide opportunities for others. And so I didn't know what was next. I was still officiating women's and men's NCAA hockey in the States. And so obviously to work the final game in that league had been a goal, but really I'd never thought men's pro hockey was a possibility. And so I was fortunate in 2019 to be invited to the NHL puts on an exposure combine for officials. And so I went to that in 2019. And after that, I went to a rookie tournament out in Anaheim, California. Did that year. And then 2020, there was no combine, and went back to the combine this past August in 2021. And from there was invited to the American Hockey League preseason camp, where again, just like the combine, it's a testing on ice, off ice. And then they gave me a game. There's actually 10 women who are working in the American Hockey League this year. So it's really exciting to see a lot of females, most of whom I've officiated with. We're good friends. So it's great to be able to support each other and go through this experience together.
Wow, what a journey. That's great. You are the first female to referee the Southern Professional Hockey League. You are the first woman to referee an AHL game. And you also have 8 IIHF tournaments, including the Olympics, on your resume. I mean, that's incredible. And I was thinking that we were going to listen to the broadcasting from the AHLTV. They have given me okay to play this short thing here with the Nick Hart.
History coming on this opening puck drop as Katie Guay becoming the first woman to ever officiate an American Hockey League game. There are 10 women hired by the American Hockey League as either linespeople or referees throughout the league, but Katie Guay kicking us off here to start the Penguins season. Face-off won by Radim Zohorna.
So what was your feelings here on the first puck drop on your first AHL game?
Well, at that exact moment, I was thinking, let's get the puck down and play hockey. There was certainly a lot of hype leading up to that moment. And I heard from so many people in the hockey community, from people I played with at age 6 that I haven't heard from in many years, to Wes McCauley and Steve Barton from the NHL and a lot of others from the American Hockey League reached out to wish me good luck. And so with all that hype leading up to the game, it definitely put a little more pressure on me in the situation. And obviously I knew going into it, it was, a big deal. And I was given the opportunity. I think there are so many women before me that may have had the opportunity, but the timing wasn't right. So I feel fortunate that I'm in the right place at the right time. And, I definitely owe it to them, my mentor and those that came before me, to do a good job out there for that first game. And so definitely the pressure was there a little more than a normal game. But once that first puck went down and play started moving, then I felt comfortable and felt that my hard work and preparation got me to where I was. And I felt, it was another hockey game. But at that moment, definitely just was ready to get the puck down and get that game going.
It was almost like you could hear the glass ceiling shatter there, right?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think to be in that position, definitely a lot of pressure there, but felt ready for the opportunity. And it's exciting for all those little girls in the stands. Like I said, my goal was never men's pro hockey because I didn't think it was an opportunity there in the game. And for these little girls that are watching to realize that there's so many opportunities as a player, but there's also just so many more opportunities now off the bench as well. There's the coaching, there's the admin side, and then you can keep your skates on and keep skating as an official. It's a great way to stay involved in the game. And I encourage players and coaches to try it just to see perspectives of the game and try a new part of the game. And so I hope this opens eyes to other players out there that might not have ever thought of officiating to realize that there's just so many opportunities. I mean, my skates have been my passport to the globe. I've been so fortunate to, like you said, 8 world championships, to be able to see so much of the world and meet some amazing people through the game. So it's been a lot of fun.
I think your journey is also important to inspire young women that wants to either play but also to officiate, that now it's possible. They have a role model to look up to. They know that they can make the full journey. I mean, that's been the case also for the women ice hockey players, that they haven't in the past really had a role model, and now they are coming, and the same now on the officiating side. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you said, I mean, I remember watching the 98 Olympics, and that was when I was in high school. And so to see how far the game has come, the amount of women's national teams around the globe, it's just incredible to see how big the sport has grown. And I think we're going to see continued growth along the way here. So it's really exciting time to be part of the game. And I'm very fortunate to be in this place and have the opportunity to work some really fun games out there.
So as the referee, you are the boss on the ice, so to speak, or you and your colleagues there, and making sure everything goes according to the rules and to have a great game. So what are your responsibilities during the game, and how does your preparations look before a game?
So there's 2 referees out there and 2 linesmen, and the referees are responsible for calling goals and penalties, and the linesmen icing and offsides. And, our jobs out there are really just to react to the actions of the players. And so the players, really dictate the game, and we're just out there to make sure that it's a fair game and the rules are being followed, like you said. So preparation, it's just to make sure that the 4 of us, the team, the 3rd team on the ice, we're all on the same page. The AHL is a different rule book than what I'm used to. And so it's making sure that I'm fully prepared with the rules of the league, which are a little different than the IHF and NCAA and USA Hockey and others. So there's a lot of rule books out there. So mentally being sharp is making sure that you're up to speed on the rules of the game that you're currently working. And then the physical preparation, that's continuous. That's certainly something that, like I mentioned, the National Hockey League puts on an exposure combine, and then the American Hockey League has a preseason camp. And so that's a test of your physical abilities. So a lot of off-season preparation goes into that. And when you put the physical and the mental side together, you just hope that you're ready to go for puck drop.
During the preparations, do you have any superstitions? You hear players sometimes saying they must lace their right skate before their left and so on and so forth.
No, I try not to, just because there's so many variables that go into a game, and you just want to make sure that you're mentally sharp and not with other things that, sometimes are out of your control. So I tend to get my equipment on the same way every game, but I try not to be super crazy about that, just because there's a lot of other things to be thinking about before a game. So I don't want to get too carried away with making sure, I'm following the exact protocol of my routine every game.
I see. You mentioned also that there are different rule books between the different leagues. Can you point to some difference that could be different in between the leagues?
Sure. So for instance, in the IHF and the American Hockey League, if the defending team shoots the puck out from the defending zone directly over the glass, it's an automatic delay of game penalty. In college hockey, that same situation, it's no change for the defending team. So there's one little rule there that's different. So so there's some little minor situations. In NCAA hockey, you are not allowed to hand pass the puck in your defensive zone. And if you do, you actually can't change as well. Yeah, so little nuances there that, keep you on your toes as an official.
I understand that. So you need to keep actually like 3 or 4 rule books in your head.
Yes. Yeah.
I see. As a referee, obviously, you have a lot of communication with the players to make the game go as smooth as possible. So have you worked in any way on your communication skills, or is that something that you feel has come natural to you?
That's something that you definitely learn over time. I think building that rapport with the coaches and the players is important. And the more time you are in a certain league, the better that becomes. And, building that respect as well. You hope that when you step on the ice, the players and coaches have respect for you. And I think that's something that you build over time. When they don't know you, they're not really sure what to expect out there. And so the more familiar they are with you, the more comfortable they are. And that certainly when you build that relationship with the players and the coaches, that helps. So communication is all part of it. Certainly we have a job to do out there on the ice, and as do the players and the coaches. And so sometimes they have questions for us, but we're out there to be respected. And so we just hope that we get that in return. And so we have to be professional out there, but at the same time, questions sometimes need to get answered. So I think coaches appreciate when you give them an ear when they want, obviously not throughout the whole game, but occasionally throughout the game when they have a urgent question. There are times during the game it's good to go to the benches. There are other times, might not be the right time, but, allowing for that communication to happen. Coaches appreciate that. The players appreciate it. And I think you build respect through that communication.
Is that something that also you interpret in your leadership style, to be open to communication? Because you see sometimes, depending on the situation, the coach want to talk, the referee don't even go there. Sometimes they go there. But you try to also in your leadership style to have an open communication.
Yes, definitely. Some coaches would want to talk to you 20 times a period if you let them. So it's just a matter of that balance and finding the right time and when it's appropriate over the course of the game. There's certainly no need to be discussing every 2-minute penalty out there. But if there's a bigger situation, and that's where the captains come into play too, right? So the captains are often the point of communication, and sometimes it needs to be escalated to the benches. But for the most part, if you can communicate through the captains, it helps keep the game moving.
So when I researched for this episode, I saw that you were actually the captain on your team when you were playing. So then how was your communication with the referee when you were a player?
Good question. So I was a bit of a grinder as a player. I played hockey with the boys through 9th grade and then switched over to the girls. At that time, there really was not much girls hockey for me to play. And so boys hockey with checking was really my only opportunity. So when I switched over to the girls game, I was definitely still a very physical player. So I did get my fair share of penalties. And for me, I knew when I was guilty. And so having extra communication with the officials wasn't really necessary. When you body check in women's hockey, it's a penalty. And so I would usually go straight to the box without any confrontation. But, I like to tell the players, once the call is made, really, no matter what you say, it's not going to reverse the call. So a lot of those extracurricular conversations aren't really necessary, but, it's part of it. But I did find that I was fairly respectful as a player. So I hope that I get that in return as an official, but it's not always the case.
But those complaints about the call that you make, isn't that actually because you're hoping for a better treatment on the next situation? Because I think that most players, they don't expect you to change this, but they complain for the future.
Yeah, and I think it depends their tone of voice, whether they're going to get that or not. Because the next call towards them might actually be a 10-minute call, and I don't think they're going to like that one. So
that is true. That is true. Outside of the refereeing, you're involved in some other interesting projects. For 2 years, you were the director of philanthropy at the US Hockey Foundation. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Prior to that, I was a fundraiser for a private high school, and I went to the Olympics, and then USA Hockey approached me and asked me if I wanted to do fundraising for their foundation, which helps give back to the game, provide opportunities for those less fortunate to play the game. And so it was a great way for me to give back to the game. Hockey, like I said, has just been so good to me. I never thought when I was 6 years old, putting on my skates for the first time, the journey that the game would provide for me. And so any opportunity that I have to give back to the game, to pave it forward for others and help others create their own paths in the game, I certainly take up on. So I love supporting others. I was a coach for a long time. I love jumping on the ice with little kids that are lacing them up for the first time, and seeing the game through their eyes is just so heartwarming. And so fundraising was a great way to support the game in a different way, an administrative way. But obviously we all know that hockey is expensive. And so anytime you're able to diversify the game and get more kids into the game who might not otherwise have the opportunity is a huge win for the sport. And so that was what drew me to the USA Hockey Foundation. And so it was a great couple of years there, meeting more people that want to support the game and be part of it in a different way. And, we're trying to grow the game across the US and across the world. And so anytime you can give back in any way, I'm excited to do it. So it was a great experience for sure.
That's great to hear. With the negativity that's been surrounding now in the world of hockey, well, it's great to hear that there are also so many organizations that work and use hockey for something good. What you mentioned now with the USA Hockey Foundation, and we have talked to Tanya Moreno from Arizona Coyotes team. They're also working a lot on that, and Mary Kay Messier from Bauer Hockey. So great to hear that we are using ice hockey to make better.
Yeah, definitely. It's a great game. Everyone that's involved with it loves it. So the more people we can get involved, the better.
For sure. And now you are also the Director of Compliance and Safety for the NWHL. So what goes into that role?
Yeah, so they actually just rebranded. So now it's the Professional Hockey Federation, the PHF. And so that is more post-game supplemental discipline, looking at any major penalty that was called, reviewing any clips that are sent in from the teams that think supplemental discipline is necessary. So it's just making sure all the players continue to be safe out there, and any necessary incident on the ice is reviewed by a committee. So it's a great way to see the game from a different side. But again, just making sure that the rules are being followed and the players are safe on the ice out there.
That's great. You mentioned it earlier that you have studied at Brown and you have a degree in economics and psychology. Do you see yourself after your career as a referee to work within hockey, or do you have like any goals with your civil career afterwards?
Well, like I said, the game is growing so much, and if there is an opportunity to find a 9-to-5 job or a full-time job within the game, I would love to pursue that. I love being in the rinks with hockey people. It's certainly a great community to be part of. And so if an opportunity presents itself where it turns into a full-time opportunity, I would love to stay in the game in that way. Otherwise, I am actually currently looking for a full-time job outside of hockey to help supplement some of the bills. But I mean, any opportunity to stay involved in the game, I would love to be part of it.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So the referees in the AHL, all of them are not full-time employed, or how does that work?
Correct. There are a portion of them that are full-time and then some that are not.
Is it possible to combine a full-time job with the AHL, with the travels and all that time?
It's challenging, certainly. There's some weekday games mixed in, a lot of weekend games. So there's a juggling there. But, my last 10 years or so of working a full-time job, I don't remember taking a vacation time without bringing my ref bag with me. So a lot of my travels have been with my ref bag, but I love it. I love being in the rinks and traveling and meeting people around the globe. And so for me, balancing the work career with the officiating career is pretty easy because it's where I want to be and I love it. And it's fun to be part of it. So taking vacation time from my normal job to go officiating is fun, and I enjoy it a lot.
Now, let's jump into the segment with the quick questions. Biggest difference in reffing men versus women?
The physicality and the speed.
What about the attitude, the communication, the talk, that's the social part of it?
There's not a whole lot of difference there. You hear it all after the whistle in both games. So there's definitely, a lot of similarities there.
The best and the worst thing with being a hockey ref?
Oh, wow. I think the best thing is the people. We're the third team on the ice, and it's so fun working with crews out there that you can have a good time with off the ice and work together and as a team on the ice. So definitely the people. And then the hardest thing, I don't know. I mean, the travel is hard, certainly. I just did my second game on Wednesday night down in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is about a 6-hour drive for me. So, the traveling, it gets tiring, but it's all part of it. But also it's fun to see new barns. So going to new rinks and seeing new atmospheres is a lot of fun. But, the traveling sometimes gets long.
I've heard referees say that when they make the perfect game, they are not really noticed. Is that a bit frustrating for you that you can make a great game and then no one thinks about you? Because that's not the case for the players.
Good point. I do think that the officials have the most passion for the game of anybody in the building. Because when you think about it, we could work the final game of the season and have that perfect game, but we're not raising a cup or a trophy at the end of it. So you obviously have to have a lot of passion and to do it and be out there and put up with, what we deal with, to realize that at the end of the season, no matter how perfect your season might be, there is no trophy to hold up above our heads. But at the same time, we do hope to go unnoticed out there. So I guess I would rather go unnoticed out there than have the crowd chanting my name during the game. Certainly, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's annoying. There's just different rewards as an official than as a player or a coach. For us to be unnoticed and have a flawless game is the perfect situation. Well, that also means we're not holding up a cup, but that we're satisfied in different ways out there. A lot of us had our playing days and tried to make a run of it as a player, but those came to an end. And that's why I tried to convince players to try officiating, because eventually everybody's playing days do come to an end. Some try to play adult league as long as possible, but officiating is another great way to stay involved in the game when you're on the ice. And so, for us, we get the front row seat to some of the best games, and it's fun to be out there in the action. And so I encourage people to try it. And, a lot of people will realize it's another fun way. The adrenaline is flowing just like it was when you were a player. And so it's another great way to stay involved in the game and open doors to paths that may not have been possible as a player.
Has there been any bump on the road? And if so, how did you overcome it?
Yeah. There's been a lot of adversity that I've faced over the years. And, you just have to keep working hard. Like any career, it's not just going to be a straight path to the top. Certainly a lot of bumps along the way, but just keep, my motto has always been work hard and be humble. No matter what gets thrown your way, if you just keep working hard, hopefully the cards will fall in your favor. And if they don't, just keep working harder. And so for me, that's worked. It's gotten me to where I am. I think that was the type of player I was as well. I was never that natural goal scorer, all Swedish and no Finnish. But, it's the same way as an official. I really never knew where my past would take me, but I found a mentor early on and really just followed her advice. And, there's a lot of people out there that gave me advice along the way. And I kind of took a little bit from everybody and then molded it into my own style of officiating and found ways to just navigate the path that I wanted to pursue and the path that I would be proud of at the end of the day. And so, yeah, definitely some adversity along the way, but, it's just a matter of working hard. And I think overall officiating is challenging in the sense that it's a bit of a roller coaster ride. Like you said, there's games that you go unnoticed. So you felt pretty good. And then you leave the rink with your head held high, and then there are other games that either the fans or the coaches or the players didn't like you, or you made a mistake out there, and you kind of walk out of the rink with your tail between your legs. And so it's a matter of how do you then build a confidence from a situation like that to your next game. And so it's shift by shift, game by game, but just trying to make sure you're level-headed and learn from your mistakes and learn from situations, but then build confidence from times that you've done well and carry that confidence into tough games as well.
And work hard and stay humble.
That's right.
The last of the quick questions here, you mentioned it before about being a role model, but what would be your best advice for young boys and girls in the game who wants to pursue a career as a referee?
Try it first of all, and then don't be afraid to make mistakes, because you're going to make a lot. Players have the opportunity to practice and work out their mistakes and then hopefully get to the game and perfect things. And for officials, while we sometimes go and work on our skating at practice, we really don't have a chance to perform officiating at practice. And so really our games, no matter what level, are, that's our chance to perform. And so those sometimes are practice. The hope is that you continue to work your way up the ladder. And by the time you get towards the top, you've practiced a lot in various games and various situations, and you've experienced a lot, but don't be afraid to make mistakes and just keep working hard. I encourage every player to try it just to see perspectives and sight lines. And I think, as an official, you want all 10 players in front of you. And I think it helps your field of vision to open up and see the ice from a different lens. And so I encourage players to give it a shot while they're still playing. That's one of my regrets, is that I didn't start officiating until after my playing career was over. And I wonder if I had started earlier, if it would have made me a better player, just seeing the game from that different lens. Who knows? But I think it might have. And so I encourage players to try it. And, then when your playing career comes to an end, you've already had a jump start on some others, and see where it might take you, because it definitely has taken a lot of us a lot farther than our playing days ever would have. So give it a shot and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
I just thought about one more I have to ask you. Do you think in the near future there will be a woman reffing the NHL?
It's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. Certainly, I think we've taken huge strides. To have 12 women this past summer at the National Hockey League Exposure Combine is huge. To have 10 women officiating in the American Hockey League this year is a ginormous step in that direction. And so I don't know the time frame. I do think it'll happen at some point. And these steps that we've taken are just ginormous steps in getting a female there to that point. So it's just a matter of time for sure. But the steps that have happened in just the last couple of years are huge, huge leaps in getting an official there. And it's exciting to see. And time will tell.
I would love to invite you again in the future when you are the first female referee in the NHL. We can have the sequel on this episode then.
If that ever happens, I'll be right back here.
I'm glad to hear it. Approaching the end here, is there something that I haven't asked you that you want to bring up?
No, I think we covered quite a bit.
Then the last question that I ask everyone is, if you could choose the next guest on this podcast, who do you think that I should talk to?
Oh, wow. Oh, there's so many people out there. Heavy into the American side of sports. You look at Kendall Coyne from the national team. From the Canadian team, you have Marie-Philippe Poulin. If we're looking at officials, I know there's a female official that did the first Super Bowl in last year. She was the first female to officiate in the NFL, and then last year did the Super Bowl, so that was huge. So I guess those would be my three that come to me right away.
That's great. Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @sportsmpodcast.